So Jim, good to see you. Thank you for your time.
Yep.
How would you describe your first year as co-owner of Manchester United?
Well, I think we are sort of roughly where we thought we would be, but it's obviously been quite challenging because there's been a lot to do and quite a lot of issues in the club that we need to to resolve.
You said it's kind of where you expect it to be, but
Yep.
is the challenge facing you even greater than you anticipated?
Yeah, I mean the nature of the challenge is what we thought it would be, but the scale of it probably is slightly bigger. But I mean we're sort of at the moment in the process of change because United obviously has had 12 since Sir Alex retired in 2013. The club's not performed at the level that's been expected of it, and there are reasons for that clearly. And I think unless you want that to continue, there has to be a period of change, and we're in the middle of a period of change at the moment. And that nobody likes change. It's uncomfortable, and we're in the midst of it.
You've said that you're aiming for the Premier League title again within 3 years, by 2028. You've dubbed it Mission 21, a 21st title.
Yeah.
When you look at the table, does it seem like Mission Impossible rather than Mission 21 right now?
No, I don't think it's mission. I think it's good to have goals and objectives, and it's quite good to put a time rather than just a bland statement that at some stage we're going to win the Premier League again. I'm not Mystic Meg. I don't have a magic wand. I can't see into the future, obviously, but I think if you look at Arsenal, you look at Liverpool, you look at the period of time it took them to get the house in order and get back to winning ways. That's probably maybe slightly on the short end of the spectrum, but it's not impossible.
But when you look at the table, you see yourself down in 14th,
Yeah.
36 points behind Liverpool. How does it make you feel when you see that?
Well, it's not. It's obviously not where we'd like to be, but we are in a period of change. We haven't had much time to change the squad. We've got a new coach. He came in mid-season, and we've got a long list of injuries. If I actually look at the squad that's available to Ruben, I think he's doing a really good job, to be honest.
Have there been times over the past year, Jim, where you've regretted investing in United?
Regretted the transaction?
Yeah.
No, not at all. No. I think I didn't expect it to be a walk in the park. It's quite tough sometimes reading the press, obviously, but in a way, I'd rather the press had a go at me than Ruben, the coach. People are entitled to their opinions, but in my view, I think we are on the trajectory that I thought we would be on. We're in a process of change at the moment. We put a new management team in place. We didn't get that all right at the beginning, obviously, but I think today we've got a very good management team in place. We're dealing with the financial issues in the club because the club has got financial issues and we need to address those.
You mentioned criticism. There's been criticism as well as from the media, but from fans too. You'll have seen the protests before the match against Arsenal. Do you understand those fans' anger?
Yeah, and I sympathise with them because Manchester United is not where it's expected to be. We're expected to be winning the Premier League and challenging for the Champions League, and we're not there at the moment. But I think we need to get the house back in order before we can get back to our winning ways. And that's a process. It's not a light switch. I mean, if you look at, just to give you an example, if you look at the players that we're buying this summer that we didn't buy, we're buying Antony, we're buying Casemiro, we're buying Onana, we're buying Hojlund, we're buying Sancho. These are all things from the past, but whether we like it or not, we've inherited those things, so we have to sort that out. So, for Sancho, who now obviously plays for Chelsea and we pay half his wages, we're paying £17 million to buy in the summer. So it takes time for us to move away from the past into a new place in the future.
To what extent are you still dealing with the problems of the past, or after a year though, is this on you to some extent now?
Manchester United would have run out of cash by the end of this year, by the end of 2025, after me having put $300 million in, and if we buy no new players in the summer, if we hadn't implemented all the cost programs and restructurings that we have done over the last 12 months. I do feel sympathy with the fans, but I'm not actually surprised at where we are in the league, because Ruben's only got a certain size of squad he can do. I mean, you know, quite a number of those players are either injured or they're not available to him.
You know, do you accept that you've contributed to the predicament that the club finds itself?
I don't. We're not perfect, and we're on a journey, and you know, there have been a couple of errors along the way, but I think in the main, all the things that we're doing are the right things for the club, and the club's going to finish up in a very, very different place in 3 years' time to where it's been in the past, in my view. I think it will become the most profitable club in the world. In 3 years' time, Manchester United will be. That will be my prediction for Manchester. It will become the most profitable club in the world. I think we may well finish up with the most iconic football stadium in the world, and I think we will finish up winning silverware again. But I think if we were to build the most iconic football stadium in the world, which I think we will do, then that will attract, you know, the billion fans we've got around the world. They'll all want to come to Manchester.
One of the reasons the fans were protesting was over ticket price increases.
Yeah.
Explain again why you had to do that.
My general principles on ticket pricing: it should be fair, it should be affordable for the people in Manchester. And you know, we do need to look after the under-16s and the older people who don't have as much money. But at the same time, ticket income is a part of the overall income of the club.
Are there likely to be more increases for season tickets next season?
I think there will be some modest price increases, and I think we will try to hold the under-16 tickets at the prices that they saw last season.
It's not just the ticket price increases, is it, Jim? It's also the cost cutting that you've instigated, and obviously there's been hundreds of redundancies last year and hundreds more to come. Again, why is there a need to do that?
I mean, the simple answer is the club runs out of money at Christmas if we don't do that, if we don't do those things. But ultimately, if you look at running a club the size of Manchester United with income of about £650 million, you spend a part of that 650 on operating the club and a part of it on the squad. Where do you want to spend the money? Do you want to spend it on operating the club, or do you want to spend it on the squad?
Is there a danger that you cross the line between efficiency and ruthlessness that potentially could taint the brand of United?
Well, I know I don't enjoy reading the newspaper very much these days, I have to say, but I think I know it's unpopular, and you know, this period of change is uncomfortable for people, and some of the decisions we have to make are unpleasant, but they are necessary.
Some would say, well, if we hadn't kept Erik ten Hag and backed him to the tune of £200 million in the summer and then sacked him a few weeks later, if we hadn't paid millions to secure Dan Ashworth and then let him go a few months after he started, and this is tens of millions of pounds worth of compensation costs that were racked up.
Probably 20 million,
yeah. Yeah, maybe we wouldn't need to cut as many jobs, cut these perks, raise ticket prices.
But also remember, I put $300 million into the club in January, and that's all gone. So yeah, I agree. You know, the Erik ten Hag, the Dan Ashworth decisions were errors. I think there were some mitigating circumstances, but ultimately they were errors. I accept that, and I apologise for that. But you know, at the end of the day, we have to get the fundamentals right in the club.
Jim, the Dan Ashworth situation, you told me last February this is somebody best in the world at what they do. You were prepared to wait a long time to secure his services, and then he spent around as much time on gardening leave as he actually did in the job before you went your separate ways. Can you explain what exactly went wrong there?
No. It was an error on our part, and all I would say is chemistry, really. I don't really want to go into the details. I think, you know, we are where we are, we've moved on. Chemistry issue.
And with Erik, it's been suggested that you, after the club finished 8th last season, were keen to make a change, but others perhaps felt differently. Is that the case? Can you explain, shed any light on that at all? It
was a very difficult decision to make at short notice. And also, it's quite difficult to extract Erik's performance in the previous season from the management team he had been working with in the previous. If I look today, there's a great relationship between Ruben and Jason Wilcox, the sporting director. And Jason gives Ruben a lot of support. But Erik didn't benefit from that. It's quite difficult to understand in that previous season to what extent Eric maybe wasn't performing as we'd hoped, or it was the circumstances in which Eric was trying to perform. And we couldn't get to the bottom of that It became clearer, obviously, 3 months later. And, you know, we got it wrong, but we've moved on. I think we've corrected it, and we're in a very different place today.
You said a year ago, we don't mind people making mistakes at Ineos, but try not to make the same mistake twice.
Yep.
Do you accept that those 2 episodes, Ten Hag, Ashworth, given the cost of it, has called into question Ineos's decision-making at United? And do you feel confident that you've kind of learnt from those experiences sufficiently?
Yeah, no, we have. I mean, there's no question we've learnt, and I hope we don't make those types of mistakes again. But I mean, one needs to be careful. We don't just focus on two things that went, because there are many things that we've done which I think are going quite well.
Has it got to a stage with Ruben where you just have to stick with him now, come what may, and see it long term?
It's not have to stick with Ruben. I think Ruben is an outstanding young manager. I really do. I think he's an excellent manager, and I think he'll be there for a long time.
But he's lost 10 matches in 25 or so games. I mean, you're down in 14th. This is historically bad. Decades have passed since United were in that position.
The squad he's got at his disposal, with the injury list he's got at his disposal, and he comes in mid-season where he's had no time to train the players in his style of play. I think he's done really well.
How much money will he have to spend in the summer to reinforce the squad and get the players he needs to play in the way he wants to, or does that depend on selling players as well?
There will be a budget for him, and I'm not going to reveal that, but obviously that budget changes depending upon who we may choose to sell, because that will supplement the budget.
What did you make of the hardline stance he took with Marcus Rashford? Did that have your support?
Yep.
And why was that stance taken?
Because he wants a dressing room that is full of people who are totally committed to winning football matches.
You mentioned some of the players that I think Ineos have inherited effectively, the likes of Antony and Hojlund, Onana, Casemiro. Are you saying that those players aren't good enough for United?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that we've...
Or overpaid, or what are you getting at there?
Well, some are not good enough, some probably are overpaid, but for us to mould the squad that we are fully responsible for and accountable for will take time.
And despite the struggles this season, this year, I sense that you're even more determined than ever to reverse this decline and get the club back to where it needs to be. Do you want that to be your legacy ultimately, what you're remembered for?
You know, and I recognise that I'm unpopular at the moment, but I am prepared to be, and I can deal with being unpopular for a period of time, because I believe that what we're doing is the right thing and will get us. I mean, Manchester United has come off the rails. We need to get it back on the rails, and I believe what we're doing will put it back on the rails, and we'll finish up, you know, being where Liverpool are today, or where Real Madrid are today in the future. You know, we need to stick together at the moment through this difficult period, and you know, when the going gets tough, you know, people need to stick with it. They need to show a bit of grit and resilience, don't wilt, and come out the other side fighting, and that's what we will do.